Welcome to the channel. Today we're diving into the most compelling hero's journey in the Marvel Universe, the transformation of Tony Stark. Before we blast off into this story of redemption and heroism, take a second to hit that subscribe button and join our community of superhero analysts and MCU enthusiasts. Before Afghanistan, Tony Stark lived as the epitome of privilege and excess, a billionaire genius whose fortune was built on weapons that brought death across the globe. Though brilliant beyond measure, his moral compass remained uncalibrated, his vision narrowed to profits and pleasures rather than purpose. He moved through a world of champagne, fast cars, and faster company, leaving little room for reflection on the consequences of his creations. The name Stark meant innovation and destruction in equal measure, a legacy handed down from his father Howard that Tony embraced without question. He was the Merchant of Death, a title he wore with shocking pride, blind to the blood that stained each dollar in his overflowing accounts. Then came the fateful demonstration in Afghanistan, a moment designed to showcase Stark Industries' latest instruments of war. Instead, it became the crucible in which Tony would be forever changed. The ambush shattered not just his physical body, but the carefully constructed illusion that he could remain disconnected from the violence his weapons enabled. Each shard of shrapnel that embedded near his heart served as a brutal metaphor for the truth he could no longer avoid. His life's work was killing innocents, and he was responsible. The cave where Tony was held captive became both prison and sanctuary. In that dimly lit space, stripped of wealth and status, Tony encountered true nobility in Ho Yinsen, a fellow prisoner whose selflessness stood in stark contrast to Tony's lifetime of self-indulgence. Under Yinsen's quiet mentorship and the shadow of his own mortality, Tony confronted the devastating legacy of Stark weapons. Each day, the electromagnet in his chest, keeping the shrapnel from his heart, reminded him of borrowed time and unfinished redemption. "Don't waste your life," Yinsen whispered with his dying breath, words that would haunt and guide Tony forever, carrying more power than any weapon in the Stark arsenal. His escape wasn't just physical, but spiritual, marked by the crude iron suit that represented both his ingenuity and his rebirth. That first suit, clumsy, heavy, improvised for missile parts meant for killing, became instead a vessel for salvation. When he stumbled out of the cave and into the burning desert, Tony Stark was already transforming from weapons manufacturer to something yet undefined. The flames of his escape burned away pretense and privilege, leaving only purpose. Upon returning home, Tony faced a world that expected business as usual, a world unprepared for his awakening. His announcement to shut down weapons manufacturing sent shockwaves through the military-industrial complex that had thrived on Stark innovation. He faced resistance from those profiting from war, including his father figure Obadiah Stane, who betrayed him in the pursuit of power and profit. This betrayal only crystallized Tony's resolve, showing him the corruption that had festered in his shadow while he remained willfully ignorant. Yet Tony persisted, refining his suit and his mission, transforming Stark Industries despite Wall Street's protests. Each iteration of the Iron Man armor represented not just technological advancement, but moral evolution. The suit became more than protection. It became his penance, his purpose, and eventually his identity. Where once he had kept the world at arm's length through wealth and sarcasm, he now engaged directly with its suffering, flying into war zones not to sell weapons, but to disarm them, to protect those he had previously endangered. With each heroic act, each life saved, Tony worked to balance the cosmic scales weighted down by years of weapons proliferation. He faced his own demons, PTSD, alcoholism, reckless self-destruction, while simultaneously fighting external threats increasingly drawn to the beacon of innovation and heroism he had become. His journey was marked by humbling failures and spectacular successes, each teaching him that heroism wasn't about technological superiority, but about the willingness to sacrifice for others. The transformation demanded constant vigilance against his worst impulses. Tony's arrogance, though tempered, never fully disappeared. His futurist mindset, while visionary, sometimes led him down problematic paths like Ultron. Yet even these missteps reflected his desperate desire to protect a world he had once carelessly endangered. His evolution wasn't a straight line, but a complex spiral, occasionally revisiting old patterns, but always with new understanding. Tony's relationships reflected his changing heart. From Pepper Potts, who witnessed and supported his metamorphosis, to young Peter Parker, whom he mentored with fatherly concern, Tony learned to value connections over commodities. His friendship with fellow Avengers taught him teamwork and trust, qualities the pre-Afghanistan Tony would have dismissed as unnecessary. Even his turbulent relationship with Steve Rogers, cycling through respect, conflict, estrangement, and reconciliation, showed his growing capacity to see beyond himself. His journey from Merchant of Death to Earth's Defender wasn't instantaneous but iterative, filled with setbacks and sacrifices, proving that even the most flawed among us can reforge themselves when faced with the brutal truth of their legacy. The final chapter of Tony's transformation came with the ultimate sacrifice, a willingness to give his life to save the universe. In that moment, the arc of his redemption completed, as the man who once prioritized only himself made the most selfless choice possible. In the fires of that Afghan cave, the old Tony Stark burned away, and from those ashes rose Iron Man. Not just a hero in a suit, but a man finally finding his heart. His story resonates deeply because it suggests that no past is too dark to overcome, no mistake too great to redeem. Tony Stark reminds us that heroism often begins not with extraordinary power, but with the simple, difficult recognition of one's own complicity in suffering, and the courage to change course regardless of cost. Tony Stark's journey from weapons manufacturer to Earth's greatest defender shows us that true heroism isn't about the suit, it's about the heart inside it. If you found this analysis inspiring, please smash that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the characters that make the Marvel Universe so compelling. Drop a comment below with which character transformation you'd like me to explore next. Until next time, Iron Legion. Remember that heroes aren't born, they're forged through trials and choices, just like Tony's armor. See you in the next video.